Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, new clues in the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie. Investigators now sharing a better description of the man caught on camera outside the home of the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Tonight, we're hearing from the sheriff what he says about reports of withholding evidence from the FBI. Dramatic new video showing the collision of two U.S. Navy ships in the Caribbean. How exactly this happened. The partial government shutdown, the Department of Homeland Security about to lose its funding. Two ICE agents now under criminal investigation accused of lying about shooting a Venezuelan man during the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. Measles cases are surging across the U.S., the CDC confirming that cases are 5 times higher this year than a typical year. The simple way to protect yourself. Valentine's Day is almost here, and what's more romantic to talk about than a prenup? But some attorneys, accountants, and even marriage counselors say they get a bad reputation, and they might help even save a marriage down the line.
What we're starting to see more and more are people who are not coming at this with millions of dollars, lifelong fortunes. They're just people who are saying, let's have this conversation now instead of waiting until we're at odds with one another.
And going for gold and searching for love, we go to Milan as the quad god takes the ice and some athletes play the field.
Let's stay focused, but at the same time, let the ladies know I'm single.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Lindsay Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Ramos in for Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We're following possible travel concerns as the Department of Homeland Security, which includes TSA and ICE and more, is poised to shut down at midnight. But first, we want to begin tonight with breaking developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Nearly 2 weeks after being taken from her home in Tucson, the clues appear to be coming together in the desperate search for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Investigators now have a better description of the suspect seen on that chilling surveillance video. His height, about 5'9" or 5'10" with an average build. You can see him there. They're now trying to estimate his weight, shoe size, possibly even determining the face behind the mask. Authorities also trying to track that backpack he was seen wearing. It's sold by Walmart. And our interview tonight with the sheriff, their plea to the public, anyone with doorbell camera video, a Nest Cam or a Ring camera. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Aaron Kotursky in Tucson again with new reporting.
Tonight, nearly 2 weeks after Nancy Guthrie's abduction, investigators are now chasing concrete clues, a backpack, gloves, and potential DNA as they race to unmask her suspected kidnapper. After erecting that tent at the front door of the home, the FBI could be seen holding a measurement device to determine the height of the man at the door. Tonight, the FBI now says the suspect is about 5'9" or 5'10" with an average build. Authorities also have concrete information about the backpack the man was wearing. They say it was a 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker pack, which is sold at Walmart. We found one at the Tucson Walmart for $11.
Backpack's a Walmart backpack, right? So can you trace the sale?
We're hoping. We have teams working on all of this stuff.
Investigators could find who recently bought that backpack and whether the purchase was captured on video. In fact, just months ago, that same kind of footage from a retailer helped convict a suspect in a different case, Brian Walsh in Massachusetts, accused of killing his wife. Prosecutors used the video of him buying a hacksaw, hatchet, bucket, and other supplies. Tonight here in Tucson, they're hoping to find video of the suspect buying that backpack he was wearing at the front door, or maybe someone will come forward to tell authorities they know someone with that same kind of Walmart Ozark Trail Hiker pack. The sheriff speaking publicly about the case for the first time in more than a week, telling us they have recovered several gloves near Nancy Guthrie's home, like this one photographed by the New York Post. It's not clear if the gloves are connected to the case, if they were worn by the man at the door, but investigators did find DNA on the gloves and they're testing it.
Anything useful come back that you know?
Well, you've got DNA, so that's of use. Now we have to go through and try to eliminate people or make people. We're so hopeful that we're getting closer. We just believe that.
Tonight, investigators with an urgent plea to the public. They need more home security camera footage. They've asked homeowners all over Pima County, but especially within a 2-mile radius of Nancy Guthrie's home, to help with any footage from the month before she disappeared. It could hold clues of any vehicle or person that could have been casing the area.
We're pushing out another message with Ring to say, hey, people, take a look, send it to us, give us some permissions, let's look.
This video, for example, was uploaded by a homeowner 6 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. Someone at their front door recorded the week before. The sheriff acknowledging they're looking at all the videos. And while there may be no connection, it does show someone's Ring camera somewhere might have captured something. There are now 400 deputies working the case alongside the FBI, and the sheriff tonight is pushing back on talk they're not getting along.
We work as partners, and we all know that we have specialties or we have resources, and they have specialties and they have resources. The relationship is solid.
This week, just hours after the FBI first issued the video and stills from Nancy Guthrie's front door, authorities raced to a scene 50 miles south of Tucson where they detained a delivery man for hours before letting him go.
Is that guy fully cleared?
Nobody's fully cleared.
And after Savannah Guthrie posted on Instagram childhood home movies with her mother and saying they will never give up on her, the sheriff told us authorities will not either.
What's your message to the Guthrie family today?
We're not giving up. All this can go away. If Nancy's out there, we're going to find her. We're not giving up.
Aaron Kaczorski joins us now from Tucson. And Aaron, authorities are really dealing with quite a lot of tips, aren't they?
Oh, they sure are, Steph. In fact, the sheriff told us today that between the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, there are tens of thousands of tips that have come in since Nancy Guthrie disappeared. And tomorrow, Saturday, marks 2 full weeks since she was last seen. Steph, that's 2 full weeks the Guthrie family has gone without answers. Stephanie?
It is so difficult. The desperate search continues, and we are certainly thinking of the Guthrie family. Thank you, Aaron. New video shows 2 Navy ships, a destroyer and a supply ship, colliding in the Caribbean. 2 minor injuries were reported. ABC's Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has the latest.
Tonight, images of 2 U.S. Navy ships colliding in the Caribbean. Videos appearing to be taped by crew members and circulated on social media, capturing the destroyer USS Truxtun and a military supply ship slam into each other during a replenishment operation Wednesday afternoon. A horn blaring as the destroyer approaches the supply ship, crashing into its side. Officials now assessing whether the vessels are able to proceed with their deployment in the Caribbean, where they are part of the massive U.S. buildup to go after drug cartels. The images emerging as the Marines announced the death of 21-year-old Lance Corporal Chukwuemeka Ofora of Florida, also deployed in the Caribbean, who fell overboard the USS Iwo Jima and was declared lost at sea after a days-long search. But there will soon be fewer ships in the Caribbean. President Trump confirming tonight the aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford will soon leave the Caribbean to join another carrier in the Middle East in case Iran fails to agree to a nuclear deal. The president clearly implying the threat of possible military action. Stephanie?
All right, Martha, thank you so much for that report. ABC News has learned 2 ICE agents are under criminal investigation accused of lying about shooting a Venezuelan man during the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. An ICE official saying the agents appear to have made, quote, untruthful statements. Here's Alex Perez.
Tonight, 2 ICE agents have been placed on administrative leave as federal authorities launch a criminal investigation to determine whether they lied about the shooting of a man that sparked violent protests in Minneapolis. The official narrative of that shooting collapsing. It happened 1 week after the fatal ICE shooting of mother of 3 Renee Good, an ICE agent shooting and wounding Venezuelan national Julio Cesar Sosa Celis. At the time, DHS accused Sosa Celis and another man of ambushing an agent, claiming Sosa Celis fled to a nearby home as they carried out a targeted traffic stop, alleging agents were attacked with a shovel and a broom handle. But an FBI affidavit casting doubt, suggesting Sosa Celis wasn't even in the car that was stopped. In this harrowing video, you can hear children crying as a woman tells a 911 dispatcher in Spanish that agents followed a man home and shot him in the leg when they tried to close the door. Federal prosecutors now say new evidence, including video, is materially inconsistent with the allegations in the affidavit. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons admitting 2 officers may have made, quote, untruthful statements. Those agents placed on administrative leave, and prosecutors now dropping all charges against the men. In a statement, the family's attorney saying they're overjoyed, adding the charges against them were based on lies by an ICE agent who recklessly shot into their home through a closed door. All this just 24 hours after border czar Tom Homan announced an end to the ICE surge in Minnesota after the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and acknowledged the problems on the ground.
There were some issues here, and we addressed those issues. But I'm not going to sit here and say anybody did anything wrong.
Alex Perez joins us now. And Alex, are there other investigations into ICE agents' use of excessive force?
Well, Stephanie, ICE says there have been 37 investigations involving excessive force. They say 19 of those are still pending review. The families involved in all this are calling for those agents to be charged. Stephanie?
Alex Perez for us there in Chicago. Thanks, Alex. Tonight, a partial government shutdown is just hours away. Democrats refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless there are major changes to these immigration operations, including having ICE agents remove their masks and getting them to obtain warrants before they arrest. Here's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, for the third time in President Trump's second term, parts of the federal government bracing for a shutdown. Democrats refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless Republicans agree to key changes to immigration enforcement.
We've drawn a hard line in the sand on behalf of the American people, and we're not going to allow the Congress to cross it. ICE needs to be dramatically reformed. Period. Full stop.
Democrats demanding that ICE agents stop wearing masks, display identification, coordinate with state and local governments, and obtain warrants signed by a judge before making arrests.
What they're going to do is shut down FEMA, Coast Guard, TSA, and things that hurt real people.
Tonight, hours before the government shuts down, the halls of Congress empty. Republican leaders sending lawmakers home for a week-long holiday recess. As he was heading out of town himself, President Trump telling me he plans to get personally involved in talks, but refusing to say if he's willing to make any concessions.
How long are you prepared for this fight to go on? I am here to protect law enforcement and our great police and ICE and Border Patrol and everybody. I'm here to protect them because they're protecting us.
And Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. And Mary, Democrats are holding firm as this shutdown takes hold.
They are, Stephanie. And look, just as the president says he wants to protect the American people, Democrats argue that's what they are trying to do as well after two American citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were shot and killed by immigration enforcement officers. Stephanie.
Many lawmakers leaving D.C. without a deal tonight. Mary Bruce for us here at the White House. Thank you, Mary. Today marks the start of the annual Munich Security Conference in Germany, and the Trump administration's foreign policy and relationship with Europe are a big focus. Nearly 50 world leaders are in attendance, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio leading the U.S. delegation. For more on all of this, we're joined by Tom Sufi Burridge. Tom, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. The German chancellor spoke at length about a rift between the U.S. and Europe in his speech, and he also included a plea. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, Stephanie. Friedrich Merz, the German leader, started his speech with a very blunt message. He said the US-led post-Second World War order that we've known for decades no longer exists. He spoke of a more unpredictable new world order dominated by big powers and warned that China would, in the foreseeable future, be on an equal footing as the US in military terms. Merz also with a plea to the Trump administration to reforge the transatlantic relationship because he argued the US will only continue to have a competitive advantage over the likes of China with its allies by its side. Meanwhile, Stephanie, the US ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, pushing back today on the idea that the world is in a more dangerous spot, saying the Trump administration, with its actions on Gaza, Ukraine and Iran, has made the world a safer place from where it was 18 months ago.
And Tom, I would imagine that the Ukraine-Russian war would come up, would be a big conversation at this conference. Secretary Rubio will deliver his speech tomorrow and meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Meanwhile, French President Macron made clear today that Europe has to be at the table for talks to end Russia's war. What more do we know about this?
Yeah, this is pretty significant, I think, Stephanie. I mean, Macron tonight saying, quote, no peace without the Europeans, and appearing to direct that message at the US, saying, quote, You can negotiate without the Europeans if you prefer, but it will not bring peace at the table. Secretary of State Rubio expected to continue those talks face-to-face with Ukrainian President Zelensky tomorrow in Munich. And ahead of his speech, Rubio promising to level with the Europeans about what role the US is going to play in this new era of geopolitics.
It certainly will. Tom Sufi-Burridge for us there tonight. Thank you so much, Tom. For more now, we're grateful to be joined by Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, who is at the Munich Security Conference. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us tonight. Earlier today, the German Chancellor said the United States' claim to leadership has been challenged and possibly lost. What do you make of that strong message directly toward the United States?
You know, when we think about the role of the United States and our leadership in not only Arctic space, which is what I have been focused on in this past day here at Munich, but our role in the world, I think it's fair to say that there has been a shift in the conversation in terms of the relationship between the United States and what we have long considered to be our friends and trusted allies. And that has moved things. It has moved some things in a positive direction. I think that that's good as we're seeing to enhance security in certain areas, most notably in the Arctic. But it also makes for more challenging conversations. And I think you're certainly feeling that here on the ground in Munich.
And we know there's a big spotlight on the United States, just around the world. You're there with a bipartisan delegation. President Macron late today said there would be no agreement to end the Ukraine war unless Europeans are part of the negotiations. What, in your mind, should be Europe's role in helping to end the war in Ukraine?
Well, I think we recognize the very significant role that European nations are playing in support of Ukraine. Specifically resources directed to help out in substantial ways. And so as we discuss how to bring about the peace in Ukraine on terms that are beneficial to Ukraine, it needs to be obviously Ukraine. The United States clearly has a role, but I think that our European allies also have a role in that.
And Senator, you touched on some of the challenging conversations that have come up. You stopped in Greenland on your way to Munich. How do the people there currently view the Trump administration?
I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of anxiety in Greenland right now that was precipitated by the comments from President Trump about acquiring, possessing, controlling Greenland. Greenland is its autonomous. It is a territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. We respect the sovereignty of the people of the kingdom, and we respect the autonomy of the people of Greenland. So to suggest that things are now okay with the United States simply because President Trump has taken off the table this notion of military intervention, it belies the truth. There is still anxiety, but I think it is constructive to know that these trilateral talks that are moving forward, the Greenlanders and the Danes feel that is good progress, that dialogue is important.
Certainly. And we also know the Danes have been very vocal, especially in the last couple of weeks. Back here on U.S. soil, as you know, a partial government shutdown involving the Department of Homeland Security is set to get underway tonight. While we have you, we want to touch on this a bit, the immigration crackdowns that we've seen in this country. You've said in the past DHS Chief Kristi Noem should step down. Is there anything you believe ICE should have to do differently in the wake of the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good?
So I have suggested that there is a lack of confidence in the Secretary of Homeland Security, and I think we have seen that. We have seen that on a host of different levels. Obviously, this is the president's decision, but what we saw happen, what we saw unfold in Minnesota, I think if you ask most Americans, they would say that is not how we enforce our immigration laws. We want to enforce our laws, but it must be done lawfully. And when you are the secretary, you're the one where the buck stops. And so regaining some level of credibility, I think, within the department itself is important at this time.
Senator Murkowski, thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate your insights and your thoughts and your time there from the Munich Security Conference.
Thanks.
New reports today indicate that inflation in the U.S. economy slowed last month. The consumer price index went up 2.4% compared to a year ago. It is down from 2.7% in December. Housing and many food costs still remain high. The report signals the Fed could be more willing to cut interest rates later this year. President Trump pardoned 5 ex-football players for crimes ranging from perjury to drug trafficking. The players include Hall of Famer Joe Klecko and Super Bowl winners Nate Newton and Jamal Lewis. All 5 were released from prison more than a decade ago. This is the latest in a number of pardons issued by the president, including hundreds of January 6 rioters. Tonight, the CDC warns that measles outbreaks are still surging across the U.S. At least 24 states have now reported outbreaks, more than 900 confirmed cases, 5 times higher than a typical year. And now, for the first time since 2000, the U.S. measles elimination status may soon be stripped. ABC's Steve Osinsami reports.
The new numbers tonight can't be ignored. 910 measles cases across 24 states. Since January, 5 times more cases than America usually sees in a calendar year. For months, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, a lifelong vaccine skeptic, has been giving Americans mixed signals about giving children the vaccine. But now, with a record number of cases, the Trump administration is strongly encouraging parents to vaccinate children, a message that critics say is overdue.
Take the vaccine, please. We have a solution for a problem. Not all illnesses are equally dangerous, and not all people are equally susceptible to those illnesses. But measles is one you should get your vaccine.
The health secretary had many scratching their heads this week on another topic, telling a podcast host how, as a recovering addict during COVID, he wasn't afraid of getting sick by going to his support meetings.
I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
And Steve Osinsami joins us now. And Steve, there's been such an uptick in measles cases. The U.S. might lose its designation as having eliminated measles in this country.
That's right. There's an important meeting where that will be decided next month. And what's frustrating to so many in public health is that we here in the U.S. had measles beat. It was declared eliminated in the year 2000. And studies show that the measles vaccine is both safe and 97% effective.
Certainly important to note. Thank you so much, Steve. Journalist and former CNN anchor Don Lemon pled not guilty on federal civil rights charges today related to an anti-ICE church protest in Minnesota. Lemon was arrested after reporting from inside the church where activists interrupted a service to protest a pastor who works as an immigration official. 4 other people are also being arraigned in this case. New England Patriots wide receiver Stephon Diggs appeared before a judge this morning for an arraignment on charges of strangulation. His attorney entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. According to a police report, Diggs hit a private chef over a paycheck dispute at his Massachusetts home in December. The judge released him on his own recognizance and ordered him to not have contact with the victim. The next court hearing is set for April 1st. Now to Milan, an upset on the ice as Team USA forges ahead in the Winter Games. Maggie Rulli is there for us. Maggie.
Hey, Stephanie. Yeah, it was the absolutely shocking upset that's now reverberating here at these Olympics. After clinching gold for the U.S. in the team event just days ago, Ilya Malinin from Virginia, who was heavily favored to win in the men's free skate tonight, failed to even make the podium, falling on multiple jumps, stumbling on others, finishing in 8th place. A truly stunning performance. Ilya nailed a backflip in his short skate. He's known as being the only person to have ever landed a quadruple axel in competition, affectionately earning the nickname the Quad God. Now, after a skate, he held his face in his hands. He said that he was in shock and that all of his mistakes tonight were mental. Stephanie, there was this moment at the end, a moment of true sportsmanship. Ilya Malinin approaching the man who won the gold medal from Kazakhstan and embracing him in a hug. Now, Stephanie, I had the chance to chat with Ilya before he came here to the games, and he told me that at 21, this is only his beginning. So, Stephanie, there is no doubt we will see him again.
Thank you very much, Maggie, and we'll see you in a bit where we'll learn more about the romantic side of the Olympics. Coming up here on Prime, how much have the Trump administration's deportation cost taxpayers? We look at a new report by the numbers. Dodgers pitcher Alex Vesia speaks publicly for the first time since losing his daughter during the World Series. And singer Ella Mai tells us about her third studio album. Welcome back. President Trump's deportations last year cost American taxpayers upward of $40 million. That's according to a Democratic congressional report released today. The 30-page report is a result of a 10-month review by Senate Foreign Relations Committee members who examined third country deportations undertaken by the administration. Let's break down these deportation costs by the numbers. The report found that over $32 million was sent directly to 5 countries: Equatorial Guinea, Rwanda, El Salvador, Eswatini, and Palau. The administration paid the Rwandan government $7.5 million in exchange for agreeing to accept third country nationals. $20,000. That's how much El Salvador received per migrant. The country was found to have received the most migrants, with approximately 250 third country nationals. $7.5 million. That's how much the U.S. gave Palau, despite the country not receiving any third country nationals as of January. And $32,000. That's how much the administration paid per hour for military aircraft used to transport migrants. According to the report, these deportation deals were intended to communicate a threat to migrants. And despite these significant costs, the report found that a relatively small number of migrants were ultimately removed to these countries. Coming up here on ABC News Live Prime, the Brazilian au pair sentenced for her role in a double murder. We'll have those details. And are you thinking of proposing this Valentine's Day? Why experts say you may want to talk prenups with your partner first. Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. Still no sign of Nancy Guthrie, Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, who went missing earlier this month. Law enforcement is asking Guthrie's neighbors for home camera footage up to a month before the incident to see whether anyone suspicious was in the neighborhood before the kidnapping. Authorities have DNA back on multiple gloves that were found around Pima County, and work is now being done to see if those gloves are related. They also identified an Ozark Trails backpack the man was wearing is sold at a Walmart. Funding for the Department of Homeland Security is set to run out at midnight as lawmakers are leaving town for a recess. The fight is over demands by Democrats for reforms at ICE before putting any more money into the Department of Homeland Security. But ICE won't be affected since it was funded separately in a budget package passed last year. And a Brazilian au pair has been sentenced to the maximum 10 years in prison for her role in a double murder in Virginia. 25-year-old Juliana Perez Magalhães pled guilty to manslaughter. Earlier this month, a jury found former IRS agent Brendan Banfield guilty of murdering his wife and a stranger as part of an elaborate plot to start a new life with the au pair. At spring training today, LA Dodgers reliever Alex Vesia spoke publicly for the first time since losing his newborn daughter during last year's World Series. The pitcher, emotional, as you can imagine, as he thanked the team for their support, and he touched on the impact of so many offering their condolences. Coming up here on Prime, our discussion on prenuptial agreements. Not very romantic, but important. Welcome back. Flowers and chocolates are somewhat typical for Valentine's Day. So instead, how about you and your beloved share in the joy of creating a prenuptial agreement? Prime anchor Lindsay Davis explains.
Valentine's Day is Saturday, so what better way to kill the mood than to discuss prenuptial agreements? Partially joking here because many attorneys, accountants, and marriage counselors say that prenups have an undeserved bad reputation and that more couples should consider them. After all, better to have a signed legal document between spouses than a potentially more messy and more costly dispute in the event of death or divorce. Joining us now to discuss this further, ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer and Rebecca Jarvis, our chief business, economics, and tech correspondent for ABC News. So good to be with both of you, talking about such a romantic topic. So let's just start with the legality of it. What is a prenup?
So a prenup or a prenuptial agreement is a contract before you enter a marriage where you're deciding how to deal with your assets, your debts, or any kind of financial plan that you might have upon the end of your marriage, whether it be through, unfortunately, death or divorce.
And what kinds of assets should be included in a prenup?
Yeah, so everything, Lindsay, from heirlooms, jewelry, to your bank accounts, to your investments. And Brian said something important. Debts can go into prenups. There are actually examples of people now who they might not own anything, but they're both coming into a marriage with a lot of debt. So that can be a part of the conversation, as can things like fertility, embryos, because as people are ending up getting married later in life, they're coming into a marriage with things that they're having to think about now. And ownership over an embryo can be a big sticking point with a couple in a divorce.
Do you think that often people think about it too linearly? They're just thinking about what happens with my salary, what happens with the kids and with the house.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have sort of this idea in their mind that this is just for really wealthy people who have a giant inheritance or have a business. What we're starting to see more and more are people who are not coming at this with millions of dollars, lifelong fortunes. They're just people who are saying, let's have this conversation now instead of waiting until we're at odds with one another.
If you don't go into the marriage with the prenup, who then decides, maybe even arbitrarily, who gets what?
Well, the short answer is the state, right? And I have a prenup with my wife, right? I'll start off by saying that. And it actually helped us have some very serious and good conversations about our values, about what do we want for money? How do we put it in this direction? We did not have a child at the time. We have a son now. What's going to be planning out for him? And when I say to people who think about, oh, this is just for the rich and famous, it's like, no. If there is a divorce, someone's going to decide how assets are divided. It's either going to be a judge based on how that state decides, or it can be the two of you deciding on what you want to do and how you want to do it early on.
And then how do you decide what's a marital asset or something that you say, look, I already had this before you and I got together. I didn't even know you. Is that something that should be distinguished ahead of time as well?
Yeah, it's very helpful to have these conversations when you love each other, when you hope the best for one another. But I mean, Brian raises a really important point as well. It's helpful to have these conversations when it comes to money, when it comes to how you're going to live your life. And by the way, don't do it on the night before the wedding. Having that conversation over the course of your relationship as you think about getting married is really helpful, because one of the biggest things that couples fight about, and there's a lot of it's money.
All right, so who do you go to create the prenup?
So this is the beauty of the internet nowadays, right? You can literally Google, how do I make a prenup? There are templates that you can find online. There are attorneys you can reach out to. It all depends on what the values of the person are, and of course, what the laws of that state say. New York is equitable distribution.
So it's 50-50?
No, it's whatever is equitable between the two parties based on their lifestyle, their work, whatever it may be. You don't know who the judge is going to be on that day if there is a divorce and what they believe to be equitable for your family. So who better to make it than the two of you? The other style was called community property. Now, 41 states plus DC has equitable distribution. The other 9, community property. At least know which state you're in and then make sure it works for both of you.
And imagine a prenup like a will, you can change it over time.
You can amend that. And people probably should amend it. If there's big changes in your life, if you create a business and you have a liquidity event, you sell that business, you make money on that. If you have children that come into the equation, if you have a parent or an aging relative that you end up caring for, that can change things. And I want to add that there are so many ways now that you can work through a prenup. If you go the route of hiring an attorney, you could be spending $6,000 to $8,000. If you use one of the newer methods through the internet, it could be something more like $600. So it doesn't have to break the bank in order to do this.
I'm just wondering, do people ever say, you know, I've been married to this person 2 years. Hey, do you want to get some kind of agreement on the other side of marriage? Do we
should we put a prenup in place post getting married?
Correct.
Yeah, and you can do that. So prenup is a prenuptial agreement. There's actually a thing called a postnup, which has this same kind of legal backing, but it's done after you get married. Because to your point, there might be something that changed. Maybe you didn't have a prenup to begin with. Maybe you're looking at the segment and you're talking on Valentine's Day over a glass of wine. You say, you know what?
I love you.
I love you, but grandma's going to give me this property. What are we going to do with it, right?
Here's some chocolates. I want a prenup.
Yes, my financial planner suggested this is best for both of us. Thank you both so much for your time. Really
Happy
appreciate-
Valentine's Day, Linz.
Happy Valentine's Day to
I
you
hope
both.
no post-nuts for either of you, but enjoy your Valentine's Day.
Yes, I think it's too late. That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Our thanks to Lindsay, Brian, and Rebecca for that most important conversation. And happy almost Valentine's Day to all of you watching. Coming up here on ABC News Live Prime, British singer Ella May took the Grammys by storm when her catchy single Boo'd Up won for R&B Song. She's here to tell us about her new studio album, Do You Still Love Me? And is Meta adding a facial recognition feature to its smart glasses? More on that next. Is Meta planning to add facial recognition to its smart glasses? The Winter Olympics sees its first transgender athlete ever. And staying with sports, LeBron James sets yet another record. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. According to reporting by the New York Times, Meta plans to add facial recognition to its smart glasses as soon as this year. Meta renewed its efforts to add the feature after pulling back in 2021, in part because of ethical concerns. Per the Times, this new push could be because of the commercial success of Meta glasses and because the Trump administration has aligned itself closely with big tech companies. NASA's SpaceX Crew 12 is on their way to the International Space Station after their successful launch this morning, a launch that was delayed several days because of bad weather. 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut will bring much-needed help to the skeleton crew that's been keeping the ISS running since Crew 11 returned to Earth early due to a medical situation with one of its astronauts. Crew 12 will spend 8 months in space. Ring has canceled its partnership with Flock Safety days after Amazon and Ring rolled out a Super Bowl ad highlighting its AI-enabled search party feature that activates a network of Ring cameras nearby to find lost pets. Amazon owns Flock Safety. And in a statement, Ring said the planned Flock Safety integration would require significantly more time and resources than anticipated. Flock is known for software that automatically reads license plates, collecting data that they then sell to law enforcement agencies. While about 20 known transgender athletes have competed at the Summer Olympics, Swedish freestyle skier Elise Lundholm made history earlier this week as the first transgender athlete to compete in the Winter Olympics. Lundholm is a trans man who was assigned female at birth. He competes as a female since he has not received gender-affirming treatment or surgery, and that's according to the Swedish ski team. In a pilot program, Waymo will start to pay DoorDash drivers and other gig workers to close vehicle doors if they are left open, which otherwise would prevent Waymo cars from moving. Nearby drivers will receive a notification as part of the program, which is currently underway in Atlanta. The company did not share how much the drivers would be paid, but said the payment structure is designed to ensure competitive and fair compensation for Dashers and similar workers. Waymo says its future vehicles will have doors that close automatically. Basketball superstar LeBron James made history again last night. The 41-year-old scored or assisted on the Los Angeles Lakers' first 23 points of the first quarter, his longest such streak to begin a game in his 23-year career. That's according to ESPN research. By the end of the night, he had 28 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. He's now the oldest player in NBA history to post a triple-double, surpassing Karl Malone for the record. Ella May took the R&B world by storm a decade ago, releasing her first 3 EPs in the span of a year. The last one featuring her smash hit and Grammy-winning single, Boo'd Up. Now a mother with a new outlook on life, love, and everything in between. We had a chance to speak with Ella about her 3rd studio album called Do You Still Love Me? Let's take a listen.
Love ain't never 50-50. It's whatever I got near me. And then you, I got a partner. Love you just how you are, baby, even if you only got 20 for my 80. Ain't no maybe, well, maybe.
Oh, obsessed, obsessed.
Thank you.
Ella May is here joining us in studio. Thank you so much
Thank you for
being
having me.
here.
I'm so excited. This feels like really, I feel like I'm ready to live out my news reporter dreams in here. I'm like, ready.
This is your chance. Stick around. We've got a lot of news to cover. But your voice is amazing.
Thank you.
It really is. Congratulations
Thank you.
on this new single. What insight led you to it? So in the song, it says, love ain't 50-50, that it can shift and change 60-40, 20-80. What led you to that insight?
You know, I feel like just as I've gotten older, I've realized that love is just like not linear in the slightest. I used to be like, I'm a very black and white person, so I always used to be like, no, it's this way or it's that way. And I think as time has gone on, I've really realized like that is not how life works at all. And sometimes you don't have 100 to give and you hope that someone can pick up your slack or vice versa, you can pick up their slack. So I feel like I was just like trying to put that in a song and kind of give a positive outlook also on partnership, because I feel like especially in music sometimes it can be like there's a lot of heartbreak music and I know that like really connects with people, but I wanted to kind of give a positive outlook on it because that's where I feel like I'm at in my life. So yeah.
So there are no collaborations on this album. This is all you.
Yes.
And that was intentional.
It kind of wasn't. So in the time that I was recording this album, it was like right before I was pregnant, and then I was pregnant while recording and postpartum. And I am like, I've never really been a big person, a person who has like loads of people in the studio with me. But this time, especially once I got pregnant, I was like, I want it to be the least amount of people because this is, you know, a sacred time and a vulnerable time for me. So we kept it like really, really minimal in the studio. And it just so happened that when we finished our recording process, we were listening back to everything and we were picking the track list. And we kind of like, we picked it and we were like, oh, it doesn't really feel like anything is missing. And I'm definitely not the type of person to just put somebody on a song just to say, oh, I have this person on a song. Like I want it to feel collaborative and I want to really like want that to happen. And we didn't feel like anything was missing. So we were like, I guess it wasn't super, super intentional, but we were happy with the result. So we were like, why not?
It's all you.
Yeah.
We love it. And you mentioned that you were pregnant during the making of this album. How did that shape the album, if at all?
It did. And I think when I think about it now, I don't think I realized exactly what it was doing at the time for the body of work. But when I look back in hindsight now, I'm like, I feel like my perspective was just completely different because I feel like for me personally, the moment I found out that I was going to have a child, my perspective on life just felt like it changed. And then like the way I view myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to become a mother. So, and I've always been a really confident person and a really assertive person, but I definitely also was like, I want to make music that I can also play for my child and be proud of. So it definitely shaped it in a way that I don't think I could have expected. But I think that's also motherhood. Like you just don't know what to expect. And when it comes, you just do, because women are amazing and we just do. But it's changed me for the better, absolutely. So I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable that it changes you, just having a child and having that responsibility and that love that just comes with it.
It's unconditional.
Your life has changed quite a bit in the last couple of years. How does it feel to be here where you are, having been in this music industry for so long,
now.
for 10 years, and this was a dream?
Yes, 10 years on. I'm just grateful that people are still interested and still want to listen and still like care to hear what I have to say. I think in an age where we're so saturated with music, we get new music every Friday, and you know, on social media there's like something new going on every day. So sometimes I feel like as artists we can feel like if we don't put out things regularly, then we might be forgotten. But I'm definitely a quality over quantity type of person. So I'm just really grateful, honestly, in this space that I'm in right now, to be able to put out something that I'm really proud of and people still listen and still want to hear what I have to say. Yeah, I'm grateful is the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Ella, thank you so much for stopping by, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Ella May's third studio album, Do You Still Love Me, is available now wherever you get your music. And finally tonight, it is more valuable than gold, even if it's in metal form. Love. Even Olympic athletes are looking for it this Valentine's Day. Maggie Rulli reports from the Olympics once again.
This Valentine's Day, Olympians are chasing gold and love. Snowboarder Jake Pates became the most eligible bachelor in the Olympic Village after a post of his looking for love went viral.
I'm trying to stay focused, but at the same time, you know, let the ladies know I'm single.
Jake's going for a medal, but come the 14th, he's hoping for a date.
We are here to ask you your Hinge profile question. I go crazy for
Hugs from my mom.
the way to win me over is
Marvel movie and popcorn.
my most irrational fear.
My most irrational fear is, oh God, I don't know if you want to know that.
Sophia Kirby on Team USA Luge responding, because at the Olympics, anything can happen. Women's hockey captain Hillary Knight and speed skater Brittany Bowe met at the Beijing Games and have been dating ever since.
What's it like being part of an Olympic power couple?
I think we understand and we have a healthy understanding of kind of what one another does. And it's just this like incredible additional like support system. Yeah, we're also really competitive ourselves. So we get some spicy pickleball games going in the summer.
I feel like playing you two in pickleball would be so much fun and also the most intimidating thing that I could ever possibly think of.
It's wild.
And of course, the champions.
And for some Olympic power couples, it means chasing gold together. Madison Chalk and Evan Bates have been skating as an ice dancing pair for 14 years and have 2 gold medals. They got married in 2024.
When did you guys first meet?
We actually competed against each other.
Yeah, we competed against each other.
Different partners.
And became friends first.
And then I moved to her rink. Maddie was trying out with a couple of different guys. I threw my hat into the ring. I just remember so vividly. She came out to me and she was like, I want to skate with you. And it was the best moment of my life. It was July 1st, 2011.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just been the best journey.
Was it slightly nerve-wracking to take that leap from friendship to romance when
Yes.
we're so intertwined?
We obviously fell in love with each other, but through that, we also fell in love with skating even more.
Couple goals turning into couple gold.
That is our show for this hour. I'm Stephanie Ramos. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you for streaming with us. Stay safe.